At first they thought it was just another restless night, the kind every new parent knows too well. The house was quiet except for the low hum of the heater and the soft ticking of the clock above the kitchen doorway. Outside, the streetlights cast pale orange shadows across the living room floor. Inside, Sarah sat curled on the couch, one arm wrapped around a blanket, the other holding her phone. It was 2:17 a.m. Again. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Mark, half asleep beside her, shook his head, probably just the baby shifting. But Sarah's eyes were already on the screen, the baby monitor. At first, everything looked normal. The nursery glowed in soft blue light. The crib stood exactly where it should. Their baby Noah slept peacefully on his back, tiny chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. And then she saw the dog, Max, their German shepherd. He was sitting right beside the crib, not lying down, not pacing, sitting, perfectly still, staring. Sarah's breath caught. "Mark," she said quietly. "What?" he mumbled. She turned the phone toward him. His eyes snapped open instantly. Max wasn't allowed in the nursery at night. That had been the rule from day one. Not because they didn't trust him. They loved Max. He had been with them for 6 years, loyal, gentle, and unbelievably patient. But once Noah was born, everyone had an opinion. Big dogs shouldn't be near babies. You never know what might happen. Better safe than sorry. So they trained him. The door stayed closed at night. Max slept in the hallway, no exceptions. And yet, there he was, inside the nursery, sitting so close to the crib that his shoulder almost touched the wooden rail. Mark sat up straight. "How did he even get in there?" he whispered. Sarah shook her head. The door was closed. "I checked." On the screen, Max didn't move. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't sniff around. He didn't look at the camera. His eyes were locked on Noah, unblinking. Sarah zoomed the camera in slightly. Max's ears were angled forward, alert but calm. His posture was controlled, deliberate, the same posture he had when he was focused on something important. Not playful, not anxious, focused. Mark frowned. "That's weird. Do you think he's guarding him?" Sarah asked. Before Mark could answer, Max shifted, just slightly. He moved closer to the crib and raised his head, nose lifting into the air as if he was scenting something invisible. Sarah felt a chill crawl up her spine. "Why is he smelling the air like that?" Mark leaned closer to the screen. "He does that when something's wrong." He didn't finish the sentence. They both knew. Noah stirred in his sleep, just a small movement. But Max reacted instantly. He stood, not abruptly, smoothly, controlled. He placed his front paws gently against the side of the crib, stretching just enough to bring his nose closer to the baby's face. Sarah's heart slammed into her chest. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Mark, he's too close." She reached for the volume button on the monitor, turning the sound up. At first there was only static, then a faint sound, not crying, not breathing, a strange, uneven silence between breaths. Mark's face drained of color. "Do you hear that?" he asked. Sarah nodded slowly. Max lowered his head and nudged the crib rail with his nose. Not hard, just enough to cause the slightest movement. Then he let out a low sound. Not a bark, not a growl, a soft, urgent whine. Sarah's hands began to shake. "Mark, I think something's wrong." They both stared at the screen. For a second that felt like an eternity. Neither of them moved. Max turned his head slightly and looked straight into the camera. It felt intentional, as if he knew they were watching. As if he was saying something without words. Mark was the first to stand. "I'm going in," he said, already moving. But before he reached the hallway, something on the screen made him stop cold. Max barked, once, sharp, controlled, loud enough to echo through the speaker, and Noah didn't move. Sarah screamed. Mark didn't remember crossing the hallway. 1 second he was standing in the living room, staring at the baby monitor, and the next he was at the nursery door, his hand shaking as he twisted the handle. It was unlocked. That alone made his stomach drop. He pushed the door open. Nothing looked out of place. The nightlight cast its familiar soft glow across the walls. The rocking chair sat where it always did. The stuffed giraffe lay on the floor beneath the crib, and Max was still there, standing exactly where they had seen him on the monitor. His body was angled toward the crib, ears forward, tail low but steady, alert. Mark rushed to the crib and leaned over. "Noah!" he whispered urgently. Sarah was right behind him, her heart pounding so hard she thought she might pass out. For a terrifying second nothing happened, then she saw it. Noah's lips had a faint bluish tint. Sarah screamed. Mark scooped Noah into his arms. The baby was limp, too limp. Sarah grabbed her phone with trembling fingers and dialed emergency services. "Please," she cried into the receiver. "My baby, he's not breathing right." Max moved instantly. He didn't jump, he didn't panic. He stepped closer and pressed his body against Mark's legs, grounding him, forcing him to slow down just enough to listen. Max let out another low whine, then nudged Noah's foot with his nose. Again and again. Sarah noticed something then. Max wasn't touching the baby's face. He was touching the crib, shaking it, just slightly. "Mark," she gasped. "He's trying to wake him." The operator's voice came through the phone, calm but urgent. "Lay him flat. Check his airway." Mark followed instructions, hands shaking. Max sat back, eyes never leaving Noah's chest. When Noah's breathing stuttered again, Max reacted instantly. A sharp bark followed by another gentle nudge to the crib rail, and then a gasp. Small, weak, but real. Noah cried. Sarah collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Mark felt his own legs give out. Max finally relaxed just a fraction and sat down beside the crib, still watching, still listening. Sirens filled the night. Minutes later, paramedics rushed in, lights flooding the small room. One of them froze when he saw Max. "Is that dog supposed to be here?" the medic asked. "Yes," Mark said firmly. "He saved our son." The medic raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. They worked fast. Oxygen, monitoring, careful practiced movements. One paramedic glanced at the baby monitor screen still glowing in the living room. "What time did this start?" she asked. Sarah checked the timestamp. 2:17 a.m. The medic's expression changed. "That's when most events like this happen," she said quietly. "What kind of events?" Mark asked. The medic hesitated. "Let's get him to the hospital first." Later, after Noah was stabilized and resting in the ambulance, one of the doctors asked to see the footage from the baby monitor. Sarah replayed it, from the moment Max entered the room, from the moment he sat down, from the moment he stood. The doctor leaned closer. "That dog noticed the change before you did," he said. Sarah's voice trembled. "What change?" The doctor pointed to the screen. "The breathing," he said. "It slowed, became irregular." Mark swallowed hard. "And Max, he responded before it became critical," the doctor said softly. "That's extraordinary." At the hospital, after hours of tests and waiting, a pediatric specialist finally sat down with them. "Your son experienced a brief episode of sleep-related breathing suppression," she explained. "It can be caused by reflux, immature airway control, or neurological factors. Many parents don't notice it until it's too late." Sarah clutched Mark's hand. "And Max noticed?" she asked. The doctor nodded. "Dogs can detect subtle chemical and respiratory changes," she said. "Some are trained for it. Others are just born with it." Mark thought of Max sitting in the dark, still, focused, listening when no one else was awake. Later that night, Sarah returned home briefly to grab clothes. Max followed her. He sat quietly in the nursery, staring at the crib, waiting. Sarah knelt in front of him and wrapped her arms around his neck, tears soaking into his fur. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "We thought you were just being strange." Max rested his head against her shoulder. He didn't need forgiveness. He had done his job. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beep of the monitor. Noah slept beneath a thin blanket, a tiny oxygen tube resting gently beneath his nose. His color had returned. His breathing was even now. Sarah watched every rise and fall of his chest, like she was afraid the moment she looked away, it would stop again. Mark sat beside her, staring at his hands. Neither of them had spoken in several minutes. Dr. Elaine Porter entered the room softly and closed the door behind her. She didn't rush. That alone made Sarah's heart tighten. "We believe Noah experienced a brief apnea episode," the doctor said gently. "It's more common than people realize, especially in infants his age." Mark swallowed. "He could have..." "Yes," Dr. Porter said honestly, "if it had gone unnoticed long enough." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "And the dog?" she asked. "How did he know?" Dr. Porter hesitated for just a moment. "Dogs can detect changes in breathing patterns and blood chemistry," she explained. "In Noah's case, his oxygen levels dropped slightly before the episode became visible. Humans can't see that, but dogs can smell it." Sarah closed her eyes. "He knew before we did," she whispered. Dr. Porter nodded. Later, a respiratory specialist joined them. They replayed the baby monitor footage frame by frame. Max entering the room, sitting, watching, standing before the first dangerous drop. "You see this?" the specialist said, pointing to the waveform. "That's when the oxygen dips. The dog reacts right here." Mark leaned back, dizzy. "That's before any alarm," he said. "Yes," the specialist replied, "before anything a machine would catch." Sarah thought of Max sitting in the dark, listening when everyone else was asleep. That afternoon, a hospital administrator stopped by. She smiled politely but glanced at the chart, then at Sarah. "Have you considered that the dog might have caused stress?" she asked carefully. "Large animals near infants can sometimes—" Mark stood up instantly. "He saved our son," he said firmly. "I'm not disputing that," the woman replied. "I'm just saying, not everyone will see it that way." The words lingered after she left. Sarah's stomach twisted. "What if someone tells us he can't stay?" she whispered. Mark looked at Noah, then at Sarah. "Then they'll have to explain why," he said quietly. That night, back home, the nursery felt different. The crib was empty, the room too quiet. Max stood in the doorway, hesitating for the first time. Sarah knelt in front of him. "It's okay," she said softly. "You can go in." Max entered slowly, sat beside the crib, and waited. Sarah watched him, heart aching. "He's listening," she murmured. Mark nodded. "He's always listening." The phone rang just after midnight. Sarah's heart leapt. "It's the hospital," Mark said after answering. He listened, then nodded slowly. Yes, of course." He hung up and turned to Sarah. "They want to keep Noah another night," he said, "just to be safe." Sarah exhaled in relief, and then fear crept back in. "What if we hadn't checked the monitor?" she asked. Mark didn't answer right away. They both looked at Max, sitting in the dark, waiting. Later, lying awake, Sarah whispered what she hadn't dared say out loud. "He wasn't just in the room," she said. "He was watching over him." Mark reached for her hand. "He wasn't restless," he said softly. "He was on duty." Max lifted his head at the sound of their voices, just for a second, then lowered it again, listening. The next morning felt heavier than the night before. Sarah hadn't slept, Mark hadn't left the crib, and Max hadn't moved. He lay beside the crib, head resting on his paws, eyes open, ears tuned to every sound Noah made. Not anxious, not tense, focused, like a sentry. The knock came just after 9 a.m. Two people stood in the doorway, a hospital liaison and a child safety officer, both polite, both calm, both carrying the same quiet message. "We need to talk about the dog." Sarah's chest tightened. Mark stepped forward. "He saved our son." "No one is disputing that," the officer replied gently. "But we have to consider long-term safety." Max lifted his head. He didn't growl, he didn't bark. He stood, positioned himself between the crib and the strangers. Sarah noticed something then. His body wasn't stiff, it was balanced. "Large dogs and infants are unpredictable," the liaison said carefully. "There have been incidents." Sarah felt anger rise. "There have been incidents where parents miss something too," she shot back. Silence. The officer sighed. "We're recommending that Max not be allowed in the nursery unsupervised." Mark's jaw clenched. "He's never unsupervised." The officer hesitated. "At night?" Sarah opened her mouth, then stopped, because she knew that was when Max was there. "Can we show you something?" Sarah asked suddenly. She grabbed her phone and pulled up the baby monitor footage. Not just the dramatic moment, all of it. Hours before the incident. Max entering the room quietly, sitting, watching, reacting before any visible distress. The liaison leaned closer. "This wasn't random," Sarah said, voice steady now. "He didn't panic. He didn't cause stress." Mark pointed at the screen. "He detected it." The officer folded her arms. "Or," she said carefully, "he was reacting to something else." Max stepped closer to the crib, lowered his head, listened. Noah stirred, just slightly, not crying, not waking. Max reacted instantly. He stood, gently nudged the crib rail with his nose, the same way he had the night before, then sat again, eyes fixed on Noah's face. The liaison's breath caught. "That's exactly what he did," she whispered. The officer stared. Max wasn't performing. He wasn't aware he was being watched. He was responding. Suddenly, the monitor alarm beeped softly. A slight dip, not dangerous. Yet. Max let out a low, urgent whine. Mark checked the readings. Sarah's hands trembled, and then Noah's breathing steadied again, on its own. The liaison exhaled slowly. "That," she said quietly, "that's extraordinary." The officer finally nodded. "I'll amend my report," she said. "The dog will be allowed in the nursery under observation." Sarah sank onto the chair, relief flooding her body. Mark crouched and rested his forehead against Max's neck. "Thank you," he whispered. Max didn't respond. He turned back to Noah, listening. That night, Sarah sat beside the crib long after Mark fell asleep. Max lay beside her. "You weren't being strange," she whispered. "You were being brave." Max rested his head against her knee. Outside, the world moved on. Inside that room, something had shifted forever. They no longer wondered why Max stayed. They understood why he had to. Life didn't go back to normal. There was no version of normal left. From that night on, the house revolved around one quiet truth. Max wasn't just the family dog anymore. He was Noah's early warning system. The first change was small. The nursery door stayed open. Then came the next. Max's bed was moved inside the room, right beside the crib. Not because anyone told him to sleep there, because that's where he went. Every night, Sarah started keeping a notebook by the crib. Times, breathing patterns, small movements, and one extra column she never expected to add: Max's behavior. When he stood, when he sat upright, when he nudged the crib, when he whined. At first, she thought she was imagining patterns. Then the doctor confirmed it. At Noah's follow-up appointment, Sarah mentioned Max almost as an afterthought. "Our dog reacts before the monitor alarms," she said quietly. The pediatrician paused. "React? How?" she asked. Sarah showed her the footage. The doctor watched in silence. Once, twice, then again. "That's not coincidence," she said slowly. She picked up the phone and made a call. A specialist. 2 weeks later, a pediatric sleep specialist visited their home. Sensors were attached, cameras positioned, data collected. Max watched the entire setup calmly, tail still, eyes following every wire placed on Noah. That night, everything was recorded. At 2:41 a.m., Noah's breathing shifted slightly, barely measurable. The monitors didn't alarm, but Max stood. At 2:42 a.m., Max nudged the crib. At 2:43 a.m., the oxygen level dipped. The specialist stared at the screen. "Your dog detected it first," she whispered. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. The specialist suggested training, formal certification, medical alert classification. Sarah shook her head. "He already knows," she said. Mark nodded. "We just need to listen." Max didn't need a vest. He didn't need commands. He had already chosen his role. One night, months later, it happened again. Worse this time. Noah's breathing slowed dramatically. The monitor lagged. Max reacted instantly. Barking, sharp, loud, different. Sarah bolted upright. Mark was already running. They reached the crib just as Noah gasped, cried, lived. Paramedics later confirmed it. "If you had arrived 30 seconds later," one of them said quietly, "this would have been very different." Sarah collapsed onto the floor. Max stood over her steady. Word spread. Doctors, neighbors, friends. At first, people smiled politely. Then they saw the footage. They stopped smiling. They started listening. No one questioned Max's presence in the nursery anymore. No one asked if it was safe. They asked how it worked. One quiet afternoon, Sarah watched Max lying beside the crib, listening, always listening, and it hit her. He wasn't protecting Noah because he was told to. He was protecting him because he loved him, because something inside him refused to let that tiny breathing stop. That night, Sarah whispered to Mark as they watched the monitor, "If we hadn't checked that screen..." Mark didn't finish the thought. They both looked at Max, sitting in the dark, waiting. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Sarah was folding laundry. Mark was rocking Noah gently in the living room. Max lay nearby, eyes half closed, but listening. The pediatric specialist's voice was calm, too calm. "Sarah," she said, "we have the full results." Sarah sat down slowly. "Noah has a rare form of central sleep-related breathing disorder." Sarah felt the room tilt. "It means," the doctor continued, "his brain occasionally fails to signal his body to breathe properly during sleep." Mark gripped the arm of the chair. Sarah's voice barely came out. "So, the monitor can miss it," the doctor finished, "especially in the early stages." Silence filled the house. Max lifted his head. "This condition is unpredictable," the doctor said. "Some babies never show clear external signs until it's too late." Sarah's hands trembled. Mark swallowed hard. "Then how did our dog..." The doctor exhaled slowly. "We believe Max is detecting chemical changes in Noah's breath before measurable drops occur. She paused. Dogs have saved lives this way before, but rarely without training. Sarah looked at Max. He wasn't special because he was trained. He was special because he refused to leave. If Max hadn't been there, Sarah whispered, what would have happened? The line went quiet. Then, gently, based on the data, Noah likely wouldn't have survived that first night. Sarah broke. She pressed her face into her hands as the weight of it crashed down. Max stood and placed his head on her knee. That evening, Mark installed a second camera, not on the crib, on Max. They wanted to understand him. What they saw stunned them. Max didn't sleep deeply. He cycled between light rest and alert stillness. Every time Noah's breathing pattern shifted, even subtly, Max adjusted, moved closer, stood, waited, always waited. A week later, a canine behaviorist and a medical alert specialist visited the house. They observed, they recorded, they asked questions, then they stopped asking. This dog, the specialist said quietly, has already assigned himself. Not trained, not commanded, chosen. We'd like to certify Max as a medical alert dog, the specialist said. It would give him legal protection and access to emergency response protocols. Sarah nodded immediately, but Mark hesitated. Would that change him? He asked. The specialist smiled softly. No, it would just recognize what he already is. Max lay at Noah's feet, watching. The certification process was short, almost laughably so. Max passed every test without effort. Detection, response, consistency. When the vest was placed on him for the first time, Max froze. Not confused, not scared, aware. He stood taller, straighter, as if something inside him clicked into place. That night, Sarah watched the monitor again. Max, wearing his vest, lay beside the crib. Noah slept peacefully. For the first time in months, Sarah felt calm, because she understood now. They hadn't been protecting Noah alone. They never had. She leaned down beside Max. You saved him before we even knew he needed saving. Max's tail thumped once. Slow, certain. The night it happened for the last time, no one was watching the monitor. Not because they didn't care, but because for the first time since Noah was born, they felt safe. Mark and Sarah were asleep. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that only comes after months of fear finally loosened their grip. Only one soul was awake. Max. At 3:17 a.m., Noah's breathing changed. Not dramatically. Not enough for a machine. Just enough for a dog who had memorized the rhythm of a tiny chest rising and falling hundreds of times. Max lifted his head, ears forward, body still, waiting. At 3:18 a.m., Max stood. He moved closer to the crib. At 3:19 a.m., Noah stopped breathing. Max didn't bark this time. He jumped onto the bed, hard, sharp, urgent. Mark jolted awake as Max's paws hit his chest. What? Max turned and ran. Sarah was already sitting up. They sprinted. Noah was blue, not crying, not moving. Sarah screamed his name. Mark scooped him up as Max circled them, whining in a way they had never heard before. Pure panic, pure insistence. Sarah administered the emergency protocol they had practiced 100 times, but prayed they'd never need again. Seconds passed. Too many. Then Noah gasped, cried, lived. Paramedics arrived within minutes. This time there were no questions. One of them looked at Max and said quietly, "That dog just saved his life." Later that week, the specialist asked permission to share the footage, she said. It could help other families. Sarah hesitated, then nodded. The clip went online. Not edited, not dramatized, just raw. A quiet room, a sleeping baby, a dog standing before the monitors react. It spread faster than anyone imagined. Millions watched. Millions froze. Millions cried. Comments poured in. Doctors, nurses, parents. Stories of dogs who acted strange before tragedy struck. Stories of dogs who were ignored. Stories that ended too late. And suddenly people were listening. Hospitals began researching earlier detection methods. Families began trusting instincts. Dogs were no longer dismissed. Years later, Noah sleeps peacefully. Older now, stronger. Max is grayer, slower, but every night he still lies beside the bed, listening, watching, protecting. No vest, no cameras needed anymore. Just loyalty. Before turning off the light, she always kneels beside Max. "You didn't save our baby once," she says. "You saved him every night." Max closes his eyes. Job done. If this story stayed with you, Don't scroll away. Like the video. Share it with someone who trusts their dog more than a machine. Subscribe for more true stories where loyalty saves lives, and remember, sometimes the hero doesn't make a sound. Sometimes he just listens.